the Everything But Politics podcast.
Hello, guys, and thank you for joining us here once again on the Everything But Politics podcast. Joining us today is the Pickleball Chick, aka Kaitlyn Kerr. Kaitlyn, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you, making time out of your day to come join us. Kaitlyn, I saw you were recently in India. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience out there?
Yeah, so I was there for the Indian Open, which was the largest pickleball tournament ever held to date in Asia. So they invited me back in November to come out and host it and MC it and commentate it. And at the time, I unfortunately told them that it looked unlikely because I am an owner and host of Major League Pickleball, which is the team-based professional league for pickleball in the United States. However, right now, MLP is going through a potential merger with the non-based team professional league, or sorry, non-team-based professional pickleball league called the PPA. And so sort of last minute, I was able to make it work. So because MLP right now is not holding tournaments, so I was able to go out to India, and not only did I host and commentate it, but I also actually played in the pro divisions. There was over 12 countries represented with pickleball players. Got to see Mumbai. They treated us, Global Sports held the event, and they treated us so well. So truly one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And obviously one of the best pickleball experiences I've had.
Yeah, that's sweet. Is the pickleball in Asia growing as fast as it is in the United States?
So it isn't yet, but what I say is it's going to just catapult because obviously Asian countries are very familiar with racket sports. The United States has obviously taken the lead in pickleball currently, but I think countries like China and India are poised to catch up very quickly to the United States and maybe even surpass.
And what was your experience like in Mumbai? Was it everything you thought it would be? You were, shocked by the cultural differences. What was your take from your trip?
Yeah, so I absolutely loved it. I'm not sure if it was because, first of all, I've never been to India and I've never been to Asia in general. So it was definitely somewhere new for me completely. And I've traveled a bunch outside of the United States, just not to those countries. And so I was expect to be sort of like culture shocked. There's a group called Global Sports who's running the tournaments over there in India, and they did such a great job of hosting us and making us feel welcome. They sort of had, different parties and dinners and events that didn't really make it such a culture shock. But at the end, and again, I was it was held at this complex called NSCI, which is a members only club in Mumbai. So it's like a higher end club for India. And there it felt very normal. Like I didn't feel any real differences. Obviously, when you're seeing different people and they're speaking different languages, but there wasn't like as much of a culture shock. It was very clean. It was very nice. But we had friends staying at the Four Seasons. And so every time I would have to Uber from that NSCI complex to the Four Seasons. And on that Uber drive, like you saw slums, you saw really bad things, like just sad things, I would call them. People definitely living in very extreme poverty. So that was hard. And then the last day after the tournament had ended, I had planned for like a day for myself to sort of explore. And that's when I really felt, I saw a lot more. I went to the gateway to India, which is sort of like in the middle of or like truly like Mumbai. And, when I was walking around and talking to different people, you definitely see it and feel it. And then I took a boat ride out to it's called the Elefante Caves, and seeing all the stray animals that are starving, seeing how people live, like, it just, what I will say is the biggest shock out of everything was the pollution. I cannot tell you, like, we never saw the sky in the week that I was there. When I went to the Elefante Caves and I went on this hike, you could not take a step on the hike without stepping and seeing just trash everywhere. And like on the boat ride out there, I was sitting next to a family that was from India, and they were so adorable and so nice. But there was 4 or 5 kids and then mom and dad, and there was an older daughter who was in college, and she had a younger daughter or younger sibling. It's probably like 4 years old, 5 years old, and the younger sibling is drinking a juice box, opens up the straw, throws the straw, the trash of the straw just like in the boat. And then the older sibling like wanted to wipe her mouth with a napkin, throws the napkin out in the ocean. And so it's just like very common. No one thinks twice about polluting. And it's just sad because on the hike, I'm a very outdoorsy person. And so I go on hikes. I've been in hikes throughout the world, and just to see the amount of pollution, and no one cared. No one even think twice. And I think it's because people don't have the luxury of being safe, and like everyone's starving for food, love, attention, sort of thing. There's so many people, they need, they don't have a lot, so they can't think about other people. Whereas like we're pretty comfortable here in the US, or at least, where I sit. And so we can think about other people. We can think about the future. We can think about our children and generations to come. We want to leave it better than we found it. Or hopefully we do. And so that was the saddest part.
So it sounds like you got to see, all the different tiers of India and the hierarchies or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
I mean, definitely a perspective changer being out on the east, if you will. Yeah. So how was the food out there, by the way? I'm a pretty picky eater. I do not like Indian food. I feel like I would struggle out there.
Yeah, it was definitely different. So the global sports, the people that run the tournament, like I said, I was basically living there for 3 days, and I had breakfast, lunch, and they call it high tea. And then usually at 10:30, we'd go out for dinner. But those global sports, they're all vegetarian. So all the meals throughout the day, were all vegetarian meals, which I'm a little bit picky on meats. I do eat meat, but I'm picky on what it is, where it comes from, kind of thing. And so I was a little bit sketched out, potentially with the meats out there. So anyway, I didn't have to eat the meats, which was good. Every single thing that you eat has spice. Everything. Like it could be just a piece of bread, and they find a way to throw spice inside the piece of bread. And so that was definitely different. Like my stomach from the beginning wasn't right, but it was never at a point where I was like majorly sick. But it was interesting. I love trying different foods, so I'm all up for that. But a ton of rice, ton of bread, too much. Like at dinners at night, we'd usually go to the Four Seasons, and I just order pizza, flatbread pizza. Just give me something normal for the rest of the days.
That's fine. And they don't eat red meat out there, right? No beef.
No, I did not have red beef. I think it's sort of a religious thing for
Yeah.
them. But again, I didn't explore that much in the food besides what they had at the venue, because I was mostly there.
Cool. No, it sounds like an amazing trip. You got any other upcoming trips regarding, pickleball and growing the game?
Yeah, so after the Indian Open, I just went to the PPA, which was in Arizona and Mesa. So awesome to be out there. I just cannot believe how much the sport is. Obviously, Arizona is a hub for pickleball. It's a great place. The weather's most of the time beautiful. You can play outdoors most of the year. So, just a huge component of players and ambassadors for the sport and fans. So again, I just couldn't believe how many people were actually at this tournament in Bellbank Park. And then March 9th through the 14th, I'm going to Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's private island for the Necker Island Pickleball Forum. It's the first inaugural year they're holding it, and really excited for that.
Amazing.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So for our listeners who really don't have any idea what pickleball is, how it started, you kind of give like a summary of when it started, when it became mainstream, and maybe like the basic idea and fundamentals of the game.
Yeah, for sure. So pickleball is my favorite thing in the world. It's my passion. So I'm happy to talk about it, and cut me off if I'm talking too much. Pickleball started in 1965 in Bainbridge Island. which is in Washington or off the coast of, I don't, anyway, in Washington, let's just say Bainbridge Island. And it was started by the Pritchard family. There are long debates about how it got the name pickleball. There's a joke that they might have had a dog named Pickle. There's also a theory that rowing boats, in rowing, there is apparently a pickle boat, which is anyway, a certain type of boat in the competition. And so they don't know whether it came from the dog or the rowing boat, but either way, that's how the weird name came, pickle. And you play it with a paddle that's similar to, it's a little bit bigger than a ping pong paddle, I would say, but it's definitely hard. It doesn't have strings like a tennis racket. And the ball that you play with is resemblant of a wiffle ball. And it's played on, everyone says pickleball is a mix between tennis, ping pong, and badminton. The court size, you can fit 4 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court. So, you see throughout the country, a lot of tennis courts are being converted to pickleball courts because, tennis courts aren't being used and pickleball courts are being used everywhere. People are playing anywhere that they can find flat pieces of ground, because all you really need, it's a very low barrier to entry. You just need truly a net. You can put chalk on the ground to make the lines, which is really easy. And then you just need a paddle and a ball, which you can seriously get on Amazon for, $20 for a paddle. And those are the lower end paddles. Obviously, the paddle I play with is $333, so it can get up there. But truly, the barrier to entry is super low. Why I love pickleball is because it is, give me one sec. Why I love pickleball is because it is truly a sport for everyone. You can play, 5-year-olds can play it up to truly people on their deathbed. Like, people play until their 90s. They play in their 90s because the sport can be competitive, or it could be social, or it could be both. And I sort of use it as both. So I've met so many friends. Like, I was an athlete. I was a Duke soccer All-American. I played sports my entire life, every sport in the book. And I was in finance after graduating, because I graduated early to play pro soccer, but I've had 6 knee surgeries, 1 ankle surgery, tried finding sports that I love, that I was passionate about, and I really couldn't find any that didn't hurt my knee as much. Found pickleball in March of 2021, changed my life. I met an entire new contingent of friends that I've never would have had. I compete again, right? I found something that I could get my competitive juices out. Pickleball is a sport that's very easy to learn, but difficult to master. So anyone can go on a court and have fun. But the nuances to get really good at the sport are really difficult. And that's something that keeps me, coming back and intrigued. But there's, like I said before, anyone can play it. There's different levels. You can play rec, you could just play with your family and friends, but there are tournaments for amateurs all throughout the country and, world. There's a pro level now. Like I mentioned, I'm an owner of a pro team, and the sport is just continuously growing because people, we say that there's magic in the paddle. Once you play it, you become addicted, you love it, you can't put it down. And there's just so many stories of people that have never played sports in their lives that were scared. And the other thing that I'd like to mention, and they found pickleball and changed their life. And the other thing I'd like to mention is it's, coming from soccer, where women definitely did not have an equal footing in terms of equal play and equal pay. Pickleball is truly equal play and pay. So women are paid just as much as the men on the pro side. And, it's one of the only sports where a male and female actually play together, and, both of their play equally matter. So I love that part about it.
And I'm sure at one point in your life and career, soccer was your main passion. And obviously it changed so quickly. Just here we are 3 years later, you found a new passion. For anyone listening that maybe is like so stuck or set on a certain thing, how quickly can your passion change?
Like, I have chills right now. I never thought I'd find a second passion in life. Like, I loved soccer more than I loved to breathe, literally. Like, I played from when I was 2 years old until I graduated college. And when I couldn't play anymore because I I have a hole in my femur. I can't run or jump. I was depressed, and I worked on Wall Street. I was working in New York City. I've been in finance since, and I am not passionate about finance. I am not passionate about anything else. And when I found pickleball and it became a passion for me, I just feel like the most lucky and happiest person in the world, blessed. I don't know what you call it, grateful, because I do think it is hard to find things that you're passionate about and you can't force it. Like I surfed a bunch and I love hiking. Hiking is definitely another love of my life, but nothing like pickleball. So what I would say is like, just don't lose hope, like continue to do things that bring you joy. And hopefully, one day down the line, you'll find something else that you're just as in love with. And yeah, I want to make it my full-time career. So hopefully in one way or another, I could do that.
And can you share your journey with pickleball on how you kind of got the roles and positions you have? Because some people might have pickleball as their passion, but can't figure out how to make money off of it.
Yes, I love that question. So I found pickleball in March of 2021. I was working in finance and I was playing, but I wanted to start something in pickleball, but I didn't know what. So I told myself, why don't I just start an Instagram page or a podcast? Actually, that's my original thought, was a podcast. So I said, I'm going to make it the Pickleball Chick podcast. And I got everything I needed. I got a mic, I got, the wires, I made it on Spotify. I did all this stuff and I made an Instagram. And then I was recording my first podcast, which by the way was just me. And I was like, wow, the talking is easy, but the editing is hard. I'm like, this might be too much. I'm doing a full-time job. I was also getting my MBA. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to switch and do the social media part of it for right now. So I switched and started doing social media. And that took 1 year from the time that I found pickleball to the time I actually created Pickleball Chick, because I was scared. And, one of my best friends, Callie Simpkins, she says that my superpower is sort of not caring what other people think. And that has been true my entire life. But for some reason, I thought I cared what people thought on social media more than I cared about what they thought in person. So I didn't do it, because I was like, I work with billionaires, I work with multimillion, I work with very serious people in the finance industry. And I'm like, why would I start this Pickleball Chick? So anyway, it took 1 year for me to actually start Pickleball Chick. And sorry, my dog Maverick is a diva. So it took 1 year for me from when I found pickleball to create Pickleball Chick. Now, after that, everything started booming. When I actually had the guts to create something, it just started taking off. So I started playing in more pickleball tournaments. I went to the New York City Open in May of 2022. And at this point, right, I found pickleball in March 2021. So it's a little over a year. And in that year, I had read every single article you can imagine. I watched every single YouTube on pickleball you could find. I was reading it. I was consuming it. I was doing everything. I was watching all the pro tournaments. I was obsessed. So I get to the New York City Open. I'm playing in the 3.5 division, if you know ratings. Not that great. I think it was 3.5. I don't think it was 4.0. Maybe it was 4.0. Anyway, it was a low division, 3.5 or 4.0. I go there. And I'm talking to a representative of Pro XR, which is a paddle company, and I see the founder of Major League Pickleball watching a pro game. Now, what's very cool about pickleball, and it's still true to this day, is it's a very communal sport, even at the pro level. So pros, if you go to a pickleball tournament, they'll be walking side by side. You'll brush shoulders with them. It's kind of like surfing if you've been to a pro surf tournament. It's not like they're off in the distance and you can't like see them or engage with them. It's still very communal. So anyway, I see the founder of Major League Pickleball right, like very close to where I am. And I tell this Pro XR man, I say, hey, I'm going to go up. That's Steve Kuhn, isn't it? He's like, yeah, it is. I said, I'm going to go up to him and thank him for everything he's doing for the sport, because Steve Kuhn actually created Major League Pickleball. He created the rating system called Duper. He has this place out in Austin, Texas called Dreamland, which is like a really awesome pickleball complex. So anyway, he was like a huge reason why the sport started growing so big in the United States. And so I tell this guy, he's like, you're not going to go up to him and thing. I said, hell yeah, I am. He's done so much for the sport. I've been reading everything and consuming. I'm going up to him. So I go up to him and we just hit it off. We have an amazing conversation. He can feel my passion and energy for the sport. And then we kept in touch. We started, he offered me maybe a job or two at Major League Pickleball, which at the time was a startup. And I'm like, I have, a serious career in finance. Like, I need money. I can't just go there and work, not make anything. So that was sort of tabled. And then he started selling teams again in Major League Pickleball. And when I saw him start to sell teams, I reached out to him. I said, hey, I think I can put together a badass ownership group. Let me try. And he was like, sure, I believe in you. Try. So that's when I called my best friend from Duke soccer, Callie Simpkins, got her on the phone. We got a hedge fund, Knighthead Capital, who's now the majority owner of our team. They're best friends with Tom Brady, so they brought Tom Brady in. We're very close with Kim Clijsters, who was one of the best tennis players of all time, also just an amazing human. We called her. And then we had another person come in, that's our friend who's a silent partner. And so we created this ownership group to buy a team, which we named the Las Vegas Night Owls. And so that was also like a catapulting thing in my pickleball career, just by making connections. And then another thing that I did that I think is a good lesson is I created that. Remember, I told you I created Pickleball Chick, the social media profile. And, I have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And on Twitter or on Instagram one day, I did like a question poll and somebody asked like, what's your ideal role? Or what do you want to do right now? And I said, I want to be the host of Major League Pickleball. I see Major League Pickleball. It's an amazing team environment. There's so much energy around it, but they don't have somebody to bring the energy up, to bring the hype up, to bring the vibe at the actual tournament to the level I think it could get to, because I've gone to sports events my entire life, and I was recently at the Brooklyn Nets, and there's a woman by the name of Allie Love. She's a Peloton instructor. She's very famous in the industry, but she's the host of the Brooklyn Nets. And the way I see her command the arena and really bring the energy and level up there, I thought I could do for pickleball. So before I even bought that pickleball team in Major League Pickleball, they saw my message out on just an Instagram story that I want to be what Allie Love is to the Brooklyn Nets. I want to be that for Major League Pickleball. And the commissioner of Major League Pickleball at the time reached out to me and said, hey, we would love to have you do it. And so that was my first hosting of a tournament in October of 2022 in Columbus, Ohio. We hadn't even purchased a team yet. And I've been hosting Major League Pickleball ever since. So I'd say just put yourself out there, connect with people. When you're passionate about it, people feel that, and people see how true and real it is. For me, I never feel like I'm not selling myself. I'm not doing anything that doesn't feel right. It's just all very natural. So I think people can feel that. And then since I had a fellowship, I'm graduating with my MBA in May, and my Temple this is another example, my Temple organization, we had an opportunity to do a class to work with a nonprofit, and it had to be a nonprofit in the Philadelphia area. And I told my teacher, heck no, I want to do a pickleball nonprofit, something I'm really passionate about that can further my career in pickleball. And so I cold messaged the CEO of USA Pickleball, which is the national governing body of sport in the United States for pickleball, said, hey, I want to do this fellowship with you guys. So then I completed a 6-month fellowship with USA Pickleball. And then after that, I said, my next goal is to become on a board of pickleball, a nonprofit board. I want to give back to the sport that's given so much to me in the last year and a half. And I cold messaged the CEO of Pickleball Cares and said, I want to be on this. I'm really passionate about it. I want to help the sport. Now I'm on the board of Pickleball Cares, and now I'm doing a lot of consulting work, and I'm a pickleball ambassador. So I get paid to use pickleball paddles and wear clothing for brands. And I'm sponsored by Knockaround, which is a sunglass brand. I'm doing consulting work for a few different brands. And anyway, I'm just so passionate about it. And so when you're passionate about it, just put yourself out there, talk to as many people as you can. Just network, but make it just a part of your life. I travel to tournaments because I love it. I play because I love it. And I do all of this just because I truly love the sport. I've been harping and saying some people are just involved for the money, and I'm definitely not. I think people can see that. So
Awesome. It seems like a lot of this has happened to you in a short amount of time. You know, from the time you first started the 21 to here we are late February of 24, and you know, you're right in the heart of the sport.
yeah, no, it definitely has been quick. I'm proud of myself. You know, a lot of times I feel like you don't take a step back to look at how far you've come. And I'm like, you know, I could have had a way better social media strategy, right? There are so many things that I could do better, but I also need to realize I had zero connections in this sport. I never played a racket sport in my life. I found it and I loved it and I was passionate about it. And now truly I say, you know, I'm trying to capitalize, and I've worked really hard to build up the network that I have now in the sport, and to have the connections that I have. And if there's anyone you want to talk to in the sport, I either know them or I'm one connection away. So I think I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, you know, following my passion, not being held back by what people could think. Or there were so many times, and I will say this to everyone listening, that when I first started my Instagram profile, I had 0 followers. And the amount of times that I would create a TikTok or I would create an Instagram that somebody would send to one of my best friends and making fun of me. Oh my God, it happened so often. And every time I truly laughed it off, because I'm like, one day when I don't have 150 followers and you're laughing, you're not laughing anymore. Like, no one's laughing at me anymore, right? Because I'm involved in the business side. I'm playing at the pro qualifying level now. I can play with pros. I was just playing with AJ Kohler, who's one of the top males in the world. And I'm just like practicing with him and playing rec games with him. And I can, you know, I'm obviously not at his level, but anyway, I can compete at that level. And so I'm just proud of myself for never stopping, even though even my family, who I love, I'm best friends with, they were like, "You're crazy. Why would you ever do this? It's embarrassing." Like, things I would post, embarrassing. And you know what? I've watched so many people on social and different niches grow, and you find your voice on your social by just doing. And I'm sure it's similar to this podcast. Like, your first ones probably weren't great. Probably didn't know what to ask. It was a little awkward. And that's how I felt with my social. But now I'm like, I'm in my groove. I found my voice. I do what I do. And no one makes fun of me anymore. It's funny.
Yeah.
And no one makes fun of you now once you've, like, you know, you've reached a certain level. But yeah, I'd say just keep doing you.
You know, that's it is amazing, especially a lot of that resonates, you know, from, you know, you started your first episode and you really don't know what you're doing. And then obviously here we are, episode 70 something. We've built some credibility. We've had some cool guests on. We've gotten better at asking questions. It is a long process, but like as long as you don't quit, I feel like it's all worth it.
Yes. One of my favorite things that people say is, I realized this with soccer, because I was at a point where, like, I was on the US youth national teams. I was graduating early to go pro. So I was at the top level in women's soccer. And I look at the people that are still pros, that from like when I knew them, or that were playing pro for more than 5 years, and all it was consistency. They didn't even have to be the best player at the time. It's just like consistent work put in over time. Just, you know, you may fall down and you may go up. It's obviously not a straight path, you know, straight path up, but you may go down. But as long as you keep on that path, you'll come back up. And then ultimately that line keeps going forward and higher, just by putting in consistent work. So that's sort of my plan with pickleball.
Well, and for some of those younger athletes, you played soccer at Duke. How was kind of like your journey growing up in sports? Like, when did you kind of realize that, okay, maybe I'm good enough to play at school and I'm going to start looking at playing in college?
Yeah. So I this is actually funny, and it's like something that's very topical for me right now, because I was hanging out with Ben Johns and his trainer. Ben Johns is a #1 pickleball player in the world. And his trainer also was a pro pickleball player, and now he's a physical therapist and like travels with Ben, and you know, gets him ready for tournaments, pre and post tournament. And we were just in PPA Mesa, and we had dinner, and the trainer looked at me, and he sees videos of me and playing pickleball because he's never watched me personally. And my friend was there showing him videos of me in the tournament. And he's like basically they were telling me I suck at pickleball. And I'm like, yeah, compared to the best player, I do suck. But he's like, you don't look like an athlete. Like, you're not an athlete. And it's so funny because my entire life, that's all, like, I was an athlete from the time that I don't even know. Maybe the time I came out the womb. Like, I truly was playing pickleball at 2 years old. I played on male teams. Like, I'm a female. I played with the boys growing up just because I was better and like I wanted better competition than the female teams I was on at the time. I'd always played up a couple years too. If I was on female teams, I was playing 2 years up. So from the time I was young, I was definitely always competitive. My dad and my mom like bred that in me, though. I think that we had a basement in our house and we had every sport under the moon down there. We had soccer, we would have, we had a bar down there, and that would be like one goal. And then we'd have another goal post, which was like a dresser or something. And we'd play soccer against each other. I had a younger brother, 4 years younger. My dad would just like push us into the walls, and I never like cared if, I was playing in a game and girls were knocking me off, I would knock them back off the ball. Like, anyway, what I'm saying is like, I always was playing sports with my family. We'd play baseball, we'd play wiffle ball in the house, we had a little basketball nets outside and inside, like a little net inside too, and a real net outside. So from the time I was young, I always played sports. I played basketball, I played soccer, I played softball, I played ice hockey. And then when I got into high school, I still played soccer, basketball, and softball. I played AAU, if anyone's familiar. In basketball, I played AAU. And soccer, I played ODP back in the day, which basically is like try out for a state team. If you make the state team, you can try out for a regional team. If you make the regional team, you can try out for the national team. And that was sort of like your gateway to be on the U.S. women's national team. So I was in that like pool growing up. And then I stopped playing AAU basketball when I got to high school because I was like, I need to focus on soccer more. But I still played high school basketball and softball. But really focused in on soccer once I got to high school, which now might be a little bit different, but I truly believe that playing all different sports helped me in soccer a lot. Like basketball, you have to make quicker decisions on the court. I see the field very well in soccer. So I think that's helpful. Even in pickleball, I think that one of my best things is like seeing the court well, having a higher like IQ. Like I might not have all the shots because I don't have the racket experience that people have, like decades of tennis, but I see the court very well. And then when I knew that I was going to be, I always wanted to be a professional soccer player. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. And so I always wanted to play college soccer. At the time when I was growing up, you couldn't just go from high school to pro. Now, also when I was growing up, I should say this, the pro leagues in soccer, like they would start one and it would collapse because there wasn't enough funding. So I think NWSL, which is now the National Women's Soccer League in the United States, the biggest and best in the world, I think that that is either the third or fourth iteration of pro soccer in the US. So it took a while to get where we are, but now obviously the league's been around for 10 years and it's thriving. And there was a team that was sold for $33 million. So the valuations are still going up in that league. That's putting it out there, manifesting it. I hope to be an NWSL owner one day. But yeah, so when I knew I was going to get recruited for colleges was definitely in high school. I had college coaches like lining up to watch our club soccer team and our ODP teams. And so I was getting a lot of interest. And so my parents, we didn't come from a lot of money. My parents were blue collar. So I knew that I wanted to get a full ride. So I basically narrowed it down to all the schools that were giving me full scholarships to attend. And then I wanted the best academic school as well as a really great soccer school. And the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC, is by far the best women's soccer conference in the country. So I wanted to play in that league. And then Duke obviously had the combination of being a great academic school as well as athletic school. I absolutely love the coach. I'm still very close with him to this day. And I love that it had a bunch of other sports. I love the location. And so it was just a really natural fit for me. I'm really happy I went there. But I would say there's a lot of parents out there that push their kids to do things that they don't want to do. My dad never pushed me to do things. Like, I always loved playing sports. But what I will say is that my dad definitely pushed me to do things that I thought at the time were stupid, that I look back on and think, if he didn't push me, I wouldn't be where I am today. And my mom too, but my dad was very integral in the college recruiting process. Like, he made me call coaches. He made me miss some things in my high school life, to go visit college campuses to make sure that I liked the feel of them. Like, I went to Notre Dame and I went to, I visited a ton of campuses to make sure I really liked it, even if I got injured.
Yeah.
And I did get injured, and I played every season, but I got injured. I had surgery between almost all 4 years of my college career to rehab to get back to play the season. So I was a starter, and I played, we went to the national championship actually one year. So I guess I knew for a long time that I was going to play sports at a high level. But I didn't know that, where it would end up. And I'd say that, like, parents, you can push your kids a little bit. Like, I think that's fine, but you shouldn't be making them do anything. If they hate a certain sport, don't make them play it. See what they love and what they're passionate about.
Totally.
Mhm.
When you were in high school and college, obviously playing soccer at a high level as you were, a lot of cardio and running and that kind of, I'm sure you did some hit exercises throughout your training. Now that you've made the pivot towards pickleball full time, how has your training evolved from being the highest level of soccer to now the highest level of pickleball?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, okay, when I grew up, I obviously I love soccer. I didn't love running, just to run. So, when we had those tests, those running tests, I always did great, but it was definitely not my favorite part. And so pickleball has been interesting because, like I said, I have a hole in my femur now, so I can't run, I can't jump. But 2 years ago, I found, okay, so I told you I worked in finance. When I worked in New York City, I would try to work out, but I didn't find anything that I really loved. So I would do maybe 1 or 2 days a week of a workout, but I didn't love it. And then I worked in Philly, COVID hit, I've been work from home. So I live at the beach in New Jersey. And when I came here, I found F45. And F45, that's another thing besides pickleball that changed my life, because I realized that I don't love working out alone. And F45, it's a group class and it's hit workouts and it's for 45 minutes. And I realized that, again, consistency matters more than, like, consistency and discipline, like actually just showing up. There's so many days that I'm like, oh, do I have, should I? And I make myself. So I made it a goal. I have a calendar by Jesse Itzler. I don't know if you can
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have
Big
mine right. I got mine right here too.
Oh, let's go. Okay.
Literally right
That
on my desk.
calendar changed my life 3 years ago. And I started tracking. I made a goal for myself. I said, I want to work out 1/3 days of the year. And workout just means F45, or like an actual workout, not walking, because I walk my dog miles a day. I have a golden retriever, not playing pickleball, which could be considered a workout, but I wanted to be truly workout days. And so once I did that, and once I found F45, then I'm in the best shape of my life. Like,
Nice.
I'm in the best shape of my life. And it's because, again, I found something that I love and that I'm passionate about. It doesn't feel like a nuisance to go. Some days I don't want to go, but then I'm like, I keep to the discipline of going. So then I break it down. Like, I try, 1/3 days of the year. So that means 1/3 days of the month. That means 1/3 days of the week, at least, right, to hit that target. And I'm traveling so much that, 2 years ago, I overhit my target, but last year I traveled so much with pickleball. I actually didn't hit my goal, but it's okay. Like, I had the goal, and I try every day to do that. But I would say, yeah, just, I found pickleball. Playing pickleball does not get you fit. Sorry, it doesn't. You can see people that play at all different levels, and even the pros, like, some of them are not fit. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer going forward. Is, I think the sport at the pro level, at least, is going to get a lot more athletic. And so people that are working out, that are eating right, that are taking care of their bodies pre and post play is going to be even more crucial going into the future. So I'm trying to, I definitely feel very fit.
Awesome.
I'm very content with where I'm at there.
Nice.
And where do you see the game of pickleball 10 years from now?
Well, the goal is to be in the Olympics. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that a lot of us have been saying for a couple years. So hopefully it's in the Olympics. I see pickleball continuously growing in the United States. I think it's going to be if it's not already, because I don't know who's tracking the numbers and if they're being tracked correctly, but if it's not already, I think it's going to be the #1 played sport in the United States. Because anyone can play it at any level. It can be played in schools, it can be played in retirement communities. Seriously, every person can play the sport. So I think it's gonna be #1 rec sport in the United States. And over, in certain countries, like I mentioned, China and India. I think that the pro side of the game is going to continue to grow and continue to get more professional. One thing that I say is, like, right now, pros call their lines. There's no other sport in the world where, like, you're playing it for a profession and making money and you actually have to call your own line calls. So I think some things like that are going to get better. They're going to get more professional. Streams are going to get better. Hopefully, the pro leagues sign a big media deal. Like NWSL, it took them 10 years to sign a big contract they just did. So there's different things that are going to happen at the pro side. And then just getting into the nitty gritty more, I think right now, the biggest change in the last 6 months has been in paddle technology. So the paddles have become a lot, faster, and the grit has become more, I guess you could say. So you're able to spin the ball a lot more, and the power behind the paddle is a lot more. And so that's changing the game. And racquetball, if you're unfamiliar, it had like a very steep rise like pickleball is on right now, and it actually had a big drop off. And that's because the governing body basically let the sport get too quick and fast for the average player. Racquetball and pickleball are a little bit different because racquetball, obviously the courts cost a lot more to build and it's a higher barrier to entry, and the sport's quicker, so not everyone can play. So I'm hoping like there's a bunch of different governing bodies, like USA Pickleball is the most known, then there's like different international federations. So I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation. Like I mentioned, like our pro team league and the other league are trying to consolidate. There's still another league that's no one's talking about, which is APP. So I think there's going to be consolidation at the pro level. There's over 800 paddle companies. There's going to be consolidation in the paddle company arena. There's so many facility operators right now popping up all over the country. I'm sure you've seen that, indoor pickleball facilities. They're going to be consolidated. So I'd say like there's going to be expansion and consolidation.
Awesome. I'm excited for the future of the game. We like to play. I don't play very often, but when we're together, we try to make an effort to go play. And usually we just do one-on-one, which honestly I like better. But it is a lot of fun to play. And Kaitlyn, we appreciate you joining us here. But before we wrap up here, I'd love to finish off with some rapid fire questions.
I love it. First of all, I love that you play. It's like a great sport to play with your family. And singles is, you're moving a little bit more. So people, when they're starting off, or think it's like amazing, but the strategy behind doubles is cool too. So
totally. Yeah. It's just
a lot of fun.
more about just getting out there. It's a lot of fun, especially on a nice sunny day. Well, I've only played indoors actually, or outdoors, excuse me. But I feel like it's got to be a different game because the wind definitely makes a huge factor.
100%. That's been a debate, whether or not pros should, pro tournaments should just be indoor, just be outdoor. It's, people like certain things about, like, the ball is very dependent on the weather right now. So I think the ball is actually going to see a lot of improvements in the coming years as well. But if you're inside, the ball is usually faster. If you're outside, the ball gets heavier and slower. But yeah, so I love outdoors because it's just beautiful in the sun. There's nothing better, but it's interesting. So.
All right, Kaitlyn, a little rapid fire here. What is pickleball more similar to? Jumbo table tennis or miniature tennis?
Oh God. That's so hard. Well, I don't even know. We'll say miniature tennis. I don't know.
Okay. What is the best time of the day to play pickleball?
I love an early morning session, like 6 a.m., but pros
Nice.
don't wake up until 10 a.m., so it's a little bit difficult, but 6
Uh,
a.m.
Okay. Which city in the US has the best pickleball culture?
I'm gonna go with Austin, Texas.
Okay. And last one. If I would have told you 10 years ago that this would be your life, what would you have said?
Hell yeah, I'm so pumped.
That's awesome.
Really can't believe it, but love it.
Well, we're pumped that you joined us here today. We appreciate you and sharing some of your stories of your career thus far. So thank you very much, Kaitlyn.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, check pickleball out. Go play if you're listening. It's the best sport in the world. And follow at pickleball.chick if you want to see my journey and pro pickleball and amateur side.
Kaitlyn, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. See ya.